The tires made a dull thunk-thunk noise as they ran across the cobblestone street. The bus looked out of place next to 1800-style shops and houses. Just a few blocks away, the town was more modern, though still well-mannered and quaint. But in the town center, there were no cars, and no modern electronics were visible from the street. Charles got off the bus behind a load of Japanese tourists. He tried to find his bearings from a local street sign, but it was late in the day and the light was getting dim. He had a hard time reading much of anything. He tried squinting harder, but that didn't help. There was a tap on his shoulder, and he turned around. "You must be Charles," a young woman said, smiling. She wore a very formal ruffled white top with a high collar and a knee-length black skirt. Her auburn hair was done up in sausage curls and had a black bow holding it in back. "Yeah, I know. It's some get-up, huh?" "Yes, sorry for staring. I'm Charles." "It's okay, I just got the outfit today, and I'm still not used to it. Your aunt, Ms. Hughes, sent me to come and get you." "I'm Lily." "Oh, she gave me directions. I thought I was going to have to find it." "Well, I'm here now. That is, unless your mom doesn't want you talking to strangers." Charles sighed. "I'm not that young. And I guess my mom doesn't mind me talking to strangers that much if it didn't keep her from dumping me here." "Hey, this isn't any dump." Almost on cue, the street lights started to sputter and crackle. 100 gas lamps that lined the street began to glow warmly. "Welcome to Gallatin. That's a neat trick. Totally on purpose." The girl rolled her eyes and smiled. Well, at least fortunately on accident, she reached down to grab one of his bags. "You don't have to do that." "No, it's okay. Since I came all this way, I at least get to feel useful." "Well, let me carry the big bag. You're all dressed up and all." "Nope, it's too late." The girl started walking. Charles grabbed his backpack and followed. "Besides, I think I'm a little taller than you." "No. I'm 5'5". "You're up on the curb. I'm 5'7", 5'9" in heels." "Don't take it personally, you look like you're still growing a bit." "Fine. What's with the town anyway? What have you heard?" "Just that it's historical." "Are you Amish or something?" "No, it's a tourist town, like a costume party really." "Come to mention it, you probably shouldn't have packed such a heavy bag." The girl stopped at the street corner and they watched as a horse buggy went by. "Why's that?" "You'll probably need to dress in period. It's one of the rules." "You wouldn't have to, except the house is in the historical district." "I don't know, maybe you can just be a tourist. But I doubt Miss Hughes will let you get away with that." "Mom said she ran a hotel." "What's the house?" "It's like a bed and breakfast. A really big house that your aunt converted into a hotel. She's the junior owner. I think most of it is owned by a rich lady from upstate. Plus they own the houses on either side. Those are part of the hotel too. All in all, we have 20 rooms." "Don't you know any of this?" "Nope, my mom just said I'm going to Japan for 6 months and you're not, but don't worry, Aunt Justine is taking you in." "Is that her first name?" The girl smirked. "I never knew that." "So your mom just dumped you to go to Japan?" "She got a job there. But just short term. Lots of money, and very little time to think about it, as she put it." "Don't you have a friend you can stay with?" "I mean, no worries, I'm glad you're here. But the situation sounds weird. We move around a lot. Mom's always chasing more money and exciting opportunities." "What does she do?" "She's in importing. She helps businesses set up, gets things running smoothly through customs. What about your dad? Sorry, I didn't mean to get personal. Charles looked glum. No, it's okay. He doesn't live with us. I don't really want to get into it. Well, I'm glad you're here. I can tell I'm going to like you. Just from the walk? Sure, a walk can be a very nice thing, and you have a friendly face. They walked beside a wrought iron fence leading up to a gate. Here we are, Lily announced, the Gallatin ladies' house. Why do they call it the ladies' house? Oh, it's a historic thing. Back during the Civil War, when all the men went off to fight, a lot of women had to take over running businesses. The Gallatin ladies' house was one of the first female-owned hotels. But don't worry, it's not just for women. Anyone can stay here. It's just that it's run entirely by women, to recreate the historical atmosphere. Most of the girls working here are on summer break right now. That's the tourist season, and we do a lot of events. It's not quite so formal the rest of the year. Oh, so I'm the only guy around? Yes, but we have male guests all the time. Lily stood still and waited after closing the gate. Looks like we have guests checking in, let's go around to the back. Lily cracked open the back door, and they entered onto a pantry that was connected to the main kitchen. From inside they could hear the voices of several young women. A boy, really? That's what Miss Hughes said. That's not fair, it'll ruin all the fun. Maybe he's super hot? He'll probably track in mud, play games all day, and want to watch football. Lily held Charles's shoulder and touched a finger to her lips to keep him from revealing himself. They looked at each other with shocked expressions, but then Lily smiled and rolled her eyes, as if to dismiss the voices as silly. The voices continued. You think Miss Hughes will get mad if we try to get him to leave? They're related. Figures. Wish it hadn't happened this year. Lily counted to 3 on her fingers and pulled Charles along into the kitchen just as one of the voices was saying, God, I hate living with boys. Georgia, Kate, this is Charles. Charles, meet Georgia and Kate. Pleased to meet you, Charles meekly smiled and waved. Kate looked dumbfounded, but Georgia had an annoyed look on her face. She spoke, you know it's not polite to eavesdrop. Lily retorted, you know it's not polite to make fun of people. I don't make fun of your speech impediment. What? I don't have a speech impediment. Yes, you speak very well, despite your disability. What disability? You know, having a foot where your tongue should be. Fine, I'm sorry. Hello Charles, I'm Georgia. Can we start again? I'm very pleased to meet you. Sure, it seems like we got off on the wrong foot. Kate giggled a little. There was a bell and Kate scampered off toward the reception area to help with the guests. Lily led Charles up to a very small room with a bed and a desk. The maids' quarters are a little small, she explained. Oh, sorry, you're not a maid, but that's who they were built for. Sort of anyway. Miss Hughes converted 2 of the guest rooms for us girls to stay in. Sorry you're not a girl, but you know what I mean. Anyway, there are 4 rooms now. They're actually quite nice. Each pair of rooms shares a bathroom with doors on either end. So am I sharing with you? Well, don't take this the wrong way. We sort of drew straws, and Georgia lost. That's probably why she's in a foul mood. It's late and we're already moved in. I'll switch with her, but do me a favor? Sure, what? It's just that I'd rather have her ask to switch with me, so she owes me. Let's wait until she brings it up, if that's okay? Just give her a few days. She's not as terrible as she seems, she's just a little, socially clumsy. Lily left while Charles was settling in, and a few minutes later there was a knock on the door. It was Georgia. Ms. Hughes wants to see you. Oh, where is she? Down in her office. Where's that? Georgia looked annoyed, her head shook a little bit from side to side. Come on, I'll take you. She started walking quickly, without bothering to check if Charles was following. He rushed to catch up, and after making a few turns and descending a staircase, they were at Miss Hughes's door. The door was closed and Georgia left Charles to his own devices. He cautiously rapped his knuckles against the door. From inside someone called, "Come in, come in." Miss Hughes stood up when Charles entered, adjusting her clothes as she did. She was a tall woman with dark brown hair and an overly feminine face that was accentuated by dramatic makeup. She wore a long dark brown dress that was double-breasted in front. It added to her an air of authority. Charles, come in. I haven't seen you for how many years? 8. I think. It's been a long time. Wow, you've really changed. You're almost all grown up. You look a little different too. Well, I've dropped 50 pounds since the last time you saw me. I don't know if you'd remember that. Don't tell any of the girls, okay? No, I won't. You know, it's really weird. You look almost like the spitting image of your mom when she was your age. Charles blushed a bit. Not exactly like her. No, I mean you're a boy and all. You know, she was a bit of a tomboy. But we don't have to get into that, you're your own person, I'm sure. Sorry, I couldn't meet you earlier. It's been a really long day. I suppose that's all right. Lily's been helpful. What about Georgia and Kate? Ms. Hughes raised an eyebrow. Oh, I just met them, they seem okay. They put up a bit of a fit when I told them a boy was going to stay here this summer, but they're okay. Though, Georgia can be grumpy from time to time. Yes, I noticed that. So Mom just told me you ran a hotel near a historic district. She didn't say anything about costumes. Oh, that's what makes it a tourist town. It's only during the summer and holidays. But if you live in the town center, you need to live in character. What does that mean, exactly? 1800s fancy garb. Not Wild West. More Victorian, only we don't have strict rules about modesty, it's more about fantasy than reality. We still use air conditioners, and we have Wi-Fi, just try to be discreet when you use it. Some of the guys downtown like to do steampunk, and that fits right in. It does, however, mean that you can't go around in your street clothes. I don't have any fancy clothes like that. I know. If you want, we can go look through the house closet before bedtime. Ms. Hughes led him down the hallway to a huge walk-in closet that held 2 15-foot lines of clothes. Charles was taken aback as he looked through the clothes. These are all skirts and dresses? Not all of them. But you have to appreciate that we only have girls working here. So most of what I have is girls' uniforms. Over on the end we do have some of the outdoor stuff for when the girls do yard work or play field games. I made most of it myself during the off-season. That stuff is cut from boys' patterns, and you're not too big for most of it. They made their way to the back of the closet and Ms. Hughes started holding up outfits next to him. She quickly found a gray, a brown, and a dark blue suit. While they were technically boys' clothes, they looked slim and cute, made to flatter the female body. These aren't too bad, Miss Hughes declared without waiting for Charles's approval and laid them into his arms. If I get a chance, I'll make you something, but we're a little short on help. One of the girls canceled this summer, which is why I had a room for you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Can I help out? Glad you asked that, Charles. She started leading him back to the office. Because I'm going to put you to work, same as the girls. Well, not exactly the same. I figure with a boy around you can do yard work. Are you handy? I try to be. Good boy. See, what makes this a bit of a trick is that the house is known for being run entirely by women. It's a selling point for the tourists, and generally a lot of fun. But that means I'd rather not have you interacting with the guests, so I figure I'll give you odd jobs if that's okay? Sure, it doesn't sound so bad. No, it's not. Actually, looking at you, I'm not so worried. I know. I'm not exactly a super macho-looking guy. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring it up. But I think most folks might just assume you're a tomboy. But I am a boy. I know that, and I won't ask you to wear a dress, but if guests happen to assume you're a girl, please don't correct them. It would help me out a lot. Can you do that for me? I guess so, but don't tell anyone I'm a girl, okay? I can live with that. But I'm not going to announce that there's a boy here either. If that's okay. Why? What's going on? Alright, look, I only own part of this place, around 20%. The rest is owned by Harriet Bowman. She's a really rich widow from upstate. It's a point of pride for her that the house be entirely female-run. She doesn't get involved in the day-to-day operations, so I didn't exactly tell her you were staying here. Oh, I see. I guess I can live with that. Thanks. Look, one other thing. If she happens to come by, try and make yourself scarce. If she presses you, say you are a guest. This is going to sound horrible, but she's a little crazy. The bad side of that is that she doesn't like men. I don't think. She's actually kind of sexist. The good side is all her kids are men, and I think, God forbid, when she passes on, she's going to leave the place to me. She hinted at it anyway. She's rich, her sons are getting a grocery store chain, so they don't need it. Let's not mess that up. Okay. Thanks for telling me. I can deal with crazy. The next morning when Charles got up to shower, he noticed that Georgia had staked out most of the bathroom. There were 5 drawers, and she had taken them all for herself. While he was searching for an open drawer, Georgia overheard him. She barged into the bathroom, and with her red hair still in curlers, told him, "Please don't go through my stuff." When he explained that he was just looking for an open drawer, she begrudgingly cleaned one out and left the room in a huff. Charles tried on the gray suit his aunt had given him. It was far too cute for his taste. The pants were too short and exposed most of his calves, the top was tight-fitting and made him look slender, and it had a slightly oversized tie. He couldn't help himself from thinking that it was just girls' clothes made to look like boys' clothes. It didn't help that his hair was long for a boy, so he tried to slick it down into a particularly masculine style. The suit didn't come with shoes, but his square black leather sneakers didn't look too out of place. He felt self-conscious walking down the stairs for breakfast until he saw what the girls were wearing. They were each in a gold-yellow maid's outfit with a white frilly apron and white knee socks. They looked like something out of Alice in Wonderland. Miss Hughes was dressed more formally in dark colors. She pulled him aside. "Good morning, Charlie." "So breakfast is in the dining hall. It looks a bit like a restaurant because, well, it is. We serve dinner to anyone who comes in. Breakfast is less formal. We usually set it out and let the guests pick at what they want. By the way, I'd like it if you'd call me Ms. Hughes in front of the girls." I make them all call me that, and I don't want to show favoritism. Not a problem, Ms. Hughes. Great, Charlie. You look handsome in that suit, by the way. See, I told you it'd work out. At breakfast, he noticed that the girls had all started calling him Charlie. He didn't think much of it, but it was odd, as no one had called him that before. Afterward, they all set about their chores. Charlie found it an odd fuss when Kate and Georgia changed into black and white uniforms to go and make up the rooms. Lily stayed in yellow to do kitchen work. Ms. Hughes sent him outside to mow the lawn. Which didn't sound so bad, except that it was actually 3 lawns, with the side houses, and they didn't allow gas mowers in the historic district, so he had to use a hand mower. Thankfully the grounds were flat, so he didn't have to push the darn thing uphill. She also gave him a change of clothes, some light linen work clothes that almost looked like pajamas, but at least they helped him stay cool while he worked. It was exhausting, and he found himself sore and covered in sweat by the end of it. He went up to his room, stripped off all his clothes but his underwear, and fell back on top of the bed. He spread out his limbs to let the heat out of his body. The main house was inconspicuously air-conditioned, and it felt great. Before too long, Georgia popped through the door. It's time for lunch. When she saw him stretched out and nearly naked, her eyes widened and she paused for a second. Charlie was too tired to respond, and put some clothes on. Geesh, stinky boys, she spun away, and exited, slamming the door behind her. After wandering through town for the rest of the day, he walked into the kitchen where Lily was at work laying out pans of food. Hey Charlie, you haven't seen Kate, have you? She's supposed to help cook today. Nope. Just great. I suppose I can handle this all myself. But if we get many customers, this isn't gonna be a fun night, she let out a sigh. You know, I can cook. Really? Are you offering? Sure, I can follow recipes. My mom used to work late and she'd pay me to help out. I took a summer cooking class. Cool, this'll be fun. Why don't you read over the recipes and start prepping food when you're ready? I'm going to set out the dining area. She ran over to a clothes rack, pulled down an apron and tied it around Charlie. Trust me, you don't want to mess up those clothes. They are expensive. The apron was rather large and frilly with yellow trim. Charlie put it out of his mind and got to work. None of the recipes were too hard to follow, and a lot of the food was already prepared and sitting in the fridge, but Charlie did have to bread chicken and make stuffing. Things went smoothly. Lily was in and out of the kitchen while Charlie cooked. 45 minutes later, Georgia and Ms. Hughes came in the side door. Hey Lily, are you here all by yourself? They both stopped cold when they saw Charlie working the kitchen. Ms. Hughes chuckled politely and spoke, Oh, never mind. You've got it covered. Thanks, Charlie. Not a problem, Ms. Hughes. I guess not. See, Georgia, boys can be quite useful. Georgia didn't seem her usual snarky self. She was quietly looking Charlie over. Her eyes got wide, and she stared at him. Once she did speak, her voice was shy, and her face red. I guess you do have it covered. Thanks, you okay? You look shocked, Charlie asked. Georgia slowly tilted her head to one side as she gazed into his eyes. No, I'm just impressed. She abruptly turned and left the room. Ms. Hughes waited for Lily to get back to waiting on guests, then she cupped her hand over her mouth and commented to Charlie, Don't take this the wrong way. But when I walked in, I thought you were your mom, in that apron. Like when we were kids. Charlie hadn't thought about the apron, as there weren't any mirrors in the kitchen. But when Ms. Hughes left, he took the opportunity to make a quick run to the bathroom and look at himself. The apron was made to go over the yellow kitchen dresses that the girls wore, but it also fit very nicely around his gray suit and made it look a lot like a dress. He took a step back, and it was very easy to see himself as a girl. Not done up or doll-like, but he looked like pictures of his mom when she was his age. After he was done helping with dinner, he took off the apron, and Lily told him to go up and get Georgia to deal with the dishes. He wasn't sure how well this would go over with her, but when he knocked on her door, she greeted him with the same strange look she had in the kitchen. She looked him over briefly, though this time disappointed. "Fine, I'll finish up," she said, annoyed, and left for downstairs. Charlie helped out in the kitchen twice that next week. Both times during Lily's shifts. And both times, Georgia came back a little early from whatever she was doing to help them clean up. She'd chat casually with Lily, but Charlie caught her glancing quietly at him whenever she had the opportunity. She wouldn't make eye contact, so he didn't say anything. A few days later, Charlie came back from town to find Georgia frantically working in the kitchen. When he tried to ask what the fuss was all about, she shooed him and ran out to the dining room with a tray of silverware. She returned and started explaining while she was prepping food. "Harriet Bowman, the owner, just called. Madame Bowman. She's bringing 8 people for dinner. Lily and Kate are off at a movie, I don't know which one, but I'm sure they have their phones off, and Ms. Hughes drove over to White Bell to buy fabric. We never get anyone here on a Wednesday. So I have to handle it all myself. I can cook, can I help? Ms. Hughes told us to keep you away from Madame Bowman. She's gonna come back to the kitchen, I'm sure. She's also probably gonna wander around the house and go through our stuff if I know her. Crap. Yeah, crap is right. Look, if you don't want to be completely useless, run down to the movie theater and see if you can find Lily or Kate. Won't they be inside, past the ticket line? So, buy a ticket. There's only 4 screens, look for them." Georgia grabbed her purse from off the counter. She pulled out a $20 bill. "Here, I'll pay for it. Just go get me some help." Charlie was still trying to take it all in. "Please. Then just stay at the theater and watch a movie on me, all right?" Charlie grabbed Ms. Hughes's bicycle off the back porch and pedaled madly into town. He was at the theater in 5 minutes. The movies had all already started, so there wasn't a line. He bought a ticket for the latest Pixar film and wandered up and down the rows looking for the girls. When he didn't find them, he repeated the process with the other 3 movies showing there, but again, came up empty. Hopefully, their movie had finished and they went back to the house. Charlie pedaled back furiously. He could see several fancy cars out front, and when he ran by the back to go up the side entrance, he looked in the window and saw Georgia in the kitchen still trying to get everything together. He stopped for a moment and could see that her arms were trembling, and that she seemed almost ready to start crying, but she was still managing to load pans into the oven. He took the stairs up, without going into the kitchen, and knocked at Lily's door. There was no answer. Then he knocked at Kate's door. No answer there either. He cracked open Lily's door, on the odd chance that she was listening to music, or sleeping, or that there was some clue to where they had gone. When he did, he noticed her kitchen uniform was laid out on her bed. It was a simple yellow dress, sort of halfway between a maid's and waitress's uniform. Of course, he thought about the fact that everyone said he looked like a girl in the apron. It wouldn't really be any different than what he'd been doing anyway, except he'd be doing it without pants. Still, he didn't know if it'd work. He stopped deliberating, stripped off his clothes, and stepped into the dress. It was a lot easier than he thought it would be. It buttoned up the front, and really wasn't much different from wearing a long shirt. His boy's underwear was covered up, and he wasn't shaving his face yet, so it looked all right, except he did have some hair on his legs. He rushed over to the bathroom he shared with Georgia, borrowed one of her razors, and took a 2-minute stab at shaving them. It was messy and he nicked himself twice, but it was serviceable. He didn't have any shoes, and when he tried on some of the girls' shoes, he found they were too small, so he ran barefoot over to Ms. Hughes' office and tried a pair of hers. They were still too small, but just barely. Charlie managed to squeeze on a pair of Mary Jane's. He ran back to the kitchen, prepared for Georgia to laugh her head off. But she wasn't there. She was out taking the Bowman's orders. Charlie could smell something starting to burn on the stove. He went over, moved it to a different burner, and spun back around just in time to see Georgia enter the kitchen. Her face went through several expressions. When she pushed her way through the door, she was wearing the fake smile she'd been maintaining for the guests. As soon as the door closed, her face fell into the shocked forlornness of knowing she was utterly screwed. When she saw another girl in the kitchen, she sighed in relief. And when she saw it was Charlie, her cheeks turned bright red. I couldn't find them. This was the best I could do. Do you think it'll work? Otherwise, I can run off and hide. Georgia composed herself. She spoke timidly. No, that'll do fine. I think Ms. Hughes was right when she said you look like your mom. Are my legs okay? I never shaved them before. Georgia nodded silently. They looked good. She blinked her eyes, shook her head, and snapped out of it. Okay, this can work. Just stay in the kitchen and cook. I'll do the table service. But they'll probably come back at some point, so just be polite. Should I try to talk like a girl? Your voice is okay. I wouldn't worry about it. Just don't talk like a boy. Also, if she asks, say your name is Charlotte. Okay? Okay, Charlie made a saluting motion with his left hand. No. Curtsy, like this, Georgia held the sides of her dress and bowed forward. Charlie mimicked her. Okay? It'll do. Georgia put her fake smile back on and exited into the dining room with a basket of bread. The dinner went well, and whenever Georgia came back into the kitchen, she seemed more and more relaxed until the fake smile stopped being fake at all, and she was beaming whenever Charlie pushed a load of plates into her arms. About an hour into it, Ms. Hughes got back from White Bell. She made her way in from the garage to the back of the house and crept quietly into the kitchen. When she saw Charlie, she shrugged her shoulders and chuckled to herself. Hey Charlie, well then I guess you have it covered. I'm wearing your shoes. Thanks. Does Madame Bowman know you're back here? I haven't seen her yet. Georgia told her I was Charlotte. Do I look okay? He stood up straight and presented himself. Twirl around once, Miss Hughes made a circular motion with her finger. When Charlie spun around, the sides of his dress flared out and lifted up. How's that? Wow. Thanks for switching teams for the night. You look just like your mom did. You could use a petticoat, but you look quite right. Miss Hughes went out to the dining room and did her job of entertaining Madame Bowman. Just before dessert, she called Charles, as Charlotte, into the main room and introduced her to the Bowmans. They were polite and Madame Bowman complimented Charlotte on the meal, but she didn't really want to talk. After the dinner, the Madame made a tour of the house with the girls, and again Charlotte followed along though she didn't say much. As the Bowmans were pulling away, Georgia walked up and kissed Charlie on the cheek. I just wanted to say thank you. You really came through for me. Lily and Kate came in the back door. They'd gone out for ice cream after the movie and had forgotten to turn their cell phones back on. Miss Hughes scolded them, though gently, and then let it drop. Lily made everyone herbal tea, and they sat around and chatted. Kate poked fun at Charlotte for pretending to be a boy this whole time. The girls went upstairs to bed, and Charlie returned Lily's dress. The next morning, Charles awoke to hear a light rapping on his door. He thought it sounded too light to be someone knocking, but when he opened the door, he found Georgia red-faced and holding 3 dresses on hangers. "Morning, Charlie. So, we didn't want to make a big deal out of this. But just in case something like that happens again. I talked to Ms. Hughes and we thought it would be good to be prepared." The hangers held a yellow kitchen uniform dress, a black and white housekeeping uniform dress, and a fancy dark brown dress. "Oh, okay, but I don't know if I'll be doing that again." Georgia tensed up, and she broke eye contact. "It's just I thought if you wanted them." "You don't have to." "Thank you, Georgia. I suppose it won't hurt to put them in my closet. Though I don't have any shoes or anything to wear with them, so I don't know how useful this is." Charlie briefly looked over the dresses, sighed and hung them in the back of his closet. When he turned back around, Georgia was gone. Charlie went back to yard work, and worked with Kate in the kitchen that night, in his dark blue suit. Georgia was nowhere to be seen the whole day. It was her day off, and she might have been abducted by aliens for all anyone knew, until she returned after the dining room had closed. Charlie was sitting quietly up in his room, browsing the web when there was another light rapping on his door. When he opened it, Georgia was outside holding a package. "Hey Charlie, I'm sorry about earlier. You were right about the dresses. Here, I got you something." At first, Charlie thought it was a joke when he opened the package and found a pair of black Mary Janes in his size, a 3-pack of panties and bras, a bag of bird seed, a lady's disposable razor, some stockings, and a handful of dime store cosmetics. He looked at Georgia. She was not cracking into a smile. She was not sticking out her tongue. She was waiting very nervously to see whether or not he approved. "Thanks, but that's not exactly what I meant. I mean, I'm not just going to up and start being a girl." Georgia looked miserable. "I'm sorry. Just when you said you didn't have anything to go with the dresses, I thought I could. I'm so stupid. Thank you for the gift. But I'm not quite sure how to take it." "What were you thinking?" He tried to say the last part without it being an accusation. "I just thought it might be helpful to try on the dresses, just to see how you look. And then I thought you don't have any of the stuff you need, and you were so nice at helping out the other night, and I've been mean to you, and I wanted to make it up. You looked so good in the kitchen uniform, I guess I figured you had to like it. I mean, if I was as pretty as you, I'd like it. We don't have to tell anyone. You can try the stuff on up here, and I can help." Georgia trailed off, looking more and more depressed. Charlie was still looking through the bag. A receipt was hidden in the bottom. He looked at it without removing it from the bag, so Georgia couldn't see. It said $80. That was a lot of money. "All right, we can try it once, just to see, when no one else is looking, and you can't tell anyone." Georgia practically jumped up and closed the doors. Charlie was stunned because he hadn't meant now, but they were alone, so he went along with it. She waited while he shaved his body in the bathroom. He came out in a bathrobe, and she gave him a pair of panties to put on while she looked the other way. She showed him how to put the bra on, starting backwards and rotating it around. Then she filled 2 plastic bags with birdseed and stuffed them down into the bra. She had him lay on her bed and hold his legs up, while she rolled the white stockings up them. They felt smooth and silky. His legs were very sensitive from being freshly shaven, and he could feel the material stretch and pull whenever he moved. Georgia had him step into a black and white maid's dress. She zipped him up the back. They looked at him in the mirror. His legs looked slender, and the stuffed bra filled out the dress nicely. He looked delicate, feminine. Georgia sat him down in front of the bathroom mirror. She dabbed foundation at his face with a makeup sponge until it looked clean and smooth, like a doll's. Then she made him stay very still as she did his eyes. She didn't do anything elaborate, but she wanted to get it right, and when she was done, his eyes were cleanly outlined in black and gray. He almost protested when she got to the lipstick, but they'd already come so far, and he was memorized by how well his body worked as a girl's. She coated his lips in burgundy. Then led him back to his bedroom where she tied an apron, a red bow tie, and a small white bonnet with a red hair bow onto him, completing the uniform. They looked at him together in the mirror. Wow, Charlotte. You look really feminine. Ms. Hughes keeps joking that I look like my mom. It's so strange. It's like staring at another person. Do you like it? It's kind of fun. It looks really foreign. I don't recognize myself at all. But that's what makes it kind of fun. You know you could get away with living as a girl. I don't mean you should. Just that you could. And I thought I was starting to bulk up, with all the yard work. I guess I'll have to try harder. It's not so bad, is it? I mean, one day you'll be a man. But right now, if you happen to make a better girl than a boy, why not enjoy it? I guess so. It's just freaky. Why are you being so nice to me? What do you mean? You know. You're just so snarky when I'm a guy, and you seem a lot softer to me whenever I'm in a dress. I don't know. I just get along with girls better. I don't mean to, it's just the way I am. It's really weird for me that whenever I see Charlotte, I like you a lot better. I don't mean to be that way. You've been nicer to me in general recently. Yeah, but I think of you as a girl pretending to be a boy. I can't not think of you that way. Normally, I'd be offended, but there she is. Charles shrugged and pointed to Charlotte in the mirror. Thanks for dressing up. It means a lot to me. Georgia hugged him gently and then stepped away. He turned to face her. She was holding her breath, like she was waiting for something. Suddenly she stepped toward him and kissed him. Their lips massaged each other softly, and Charlie was filled with a warm drunken feeling as his entire body relaxed. Georgia pushed through his lips with the tip of her tongue and touched it against his. She pushed herself away, ran through the bathroom back to her bedroom, and slammed the door. The next day, while Charlie was mowing the lawn, Georgia brought out a tray with 2 lemonades and sat with him out under the gazebo. Hey Charlie, I just wanted to say I'm sorry about last night. I took things too far, and it won't happen again. I was hoping you wouldn't have to tell anyone about it. No, it's okay. It wasn't that bad. I mean, I know it was inappropriate and all, but it's not like it didn't feel good at the time. Georgia sat up straight. Really? I'm so glad you feel that way too. I just don't want to get in trouble. What trouble are we gonna get into? You know, if we do that up in your room, we could almost get away with anything. It's too tempting. I liked it a lot, that last part at least. But yeah, I don't want to get kicked out. Would you want to try it again, if we could be safer about it? How would we be safer? I was thinking. Charlotte and I could go somewhere public. Somewhere where we could do something besides stare at each other awkwardly. You want me to go out to town in a dress? No one would know it's you. Not if we stayed away from Ms. Hughes and the other girls. We could just go see a movie or something. That way we could be alone, but not totally. Georgia did like him a lot better in the dress. Maybe she was a lesbian. And the dress hadn't been too bad, he didn't hate it, and he wasn't likely to get caught. Okay. Really? Sure, why not? Georgia licked her lips. Great. Let's sneak out after dinner and go down to the theater. That night, Georgia helped him get dressed again. She was more timid than last time and stayed hands-off, except when she helped him apply makeup. They both wore dark brown double-breasted dresses similar to what Ms. Hughes usually wore. She only let them wear those for going into town, when she thought it would be safer for them if they dressed in an authoritative manner. They crept out the window and dropped down onto the front porch without being seen. The sun had just gone down, the street lights were just starting to flicker, and when they felt that the darkness concealed them, they held hands. At the theater, Georgia suggested they go see a documentary about African birds. That theater was less than a quarter full, and the two were able to sit in the back without much notice. Georgia started by rubbing her leg against Charlotte's. Charlotte responded by raising the armrest and leaning up against Georgia, who responded by picking at the buttons over Charlotte's belly, then undoing them, then reaching in with her hand and running her fingertip around Charlotte's belly button. The two picked at each other's clothes and brushed their hands over each other's legs until they were going crazy. Finally, Georgia started nibbling at Charlotte's lips. It was a short movie, and when it let out, they went to the ladies' room to fix their makeup and then hurried home. They were pretty sure everyone was away, so they didn't bother sneaking back in. Instead, they just walked up to Georgia's room and sat on the bed together. There was a knock on the door, and while they were both looking at each other dumbstruck, Miss Hughes opened the door and strode in. "Aha," she said in an amused, if haughty manner. "It's not what it looks like," Georgia protested. "So you and Charlotte didn't sneak off into town tonight?" "No, we did that," Charles said, suddenly fully aware that he was sitting in front of his aunt in full makeup. "Look. I'm glad it was that. It was either that or you two snuck away to have sex." "I'm relieved." The other girls had overheard, and they were peering in from the hallway. Ms. Hughes turned to confront them. "It's okay, girls. Georgia and Charlotte just wanted to sneak off and see a movie. Look, Charlotte, if you want to experiment with the whole girl thing, I don't think anyone here will make fun of you. I mean, we all do it, right?" Kate stuck her head in. "You look really nice." Lily was chuckling to herself, but gave Charlotte a warm smile. "Sure, it can be our little secret. Besides, we don't want Charles getting back to Madame Bowman anyway." Ms. Hughes spoke again. "Okay, so let's try this. Tomorrow, Charlotte, why don't you try some of the more standard chores? You'll get to wear your uniforms during work, and I'll hire some of the local men to take care of the yard." Charlie was suddenly very self-aware. "I don't know if I'm ready for that." "Well, you're definitely experimenting right now. I'd rather you do it where I can see you. We'll go easy on you. I promise." "Okay, but maybe just for a little while." "Fine with me. And one other thing, I know it's late, but it would make me feel a little better if Charlotte and Kate switched rooms. I don't need any more surprises." When Charles woke up the next day, everything seemed surreal. He had slept in his boy underwear, and he still felt like a boy, but he saw a black and white maid's dress in the corner that everyone expected him to wear today. He thought it might have just been a strange dream, but his room was different. He walked into the bathroom and found Lily's things. He spent a long time staring at the dress, wondering if he really had to put it on. Lily knocked through the bathroom door, cracked it open, and carefully peeked out. "How's it going in there, Charlie?" "I don't know, I'm just kind of skirt shocked." "Does everyone expect me to come out in the dress?" "We were kind of wondering that ourselves." Kate bet Ms. Hughes $20 against it. "Is Ms. Hughes going to be mad if I don't?" "I don't think so." She's been more quiet than usual. How do you feel about it? I keep thinking about all the kids at my old school laughing at me. You see any of them in town? No, but it still feels that way. Do you think I should put it on? Only if you want to. It's kind of embarrassing to admit that. I mean, I don't think I want to be a girl, but I liked wearing those dresses. It made me feel like I fit in. But then doing something like crossdressing makes me feel like a freak, so I don't know how I feel. If it wasn't crossdressing, would you do it? What do you mean? It's totally socially acceptable for girls to wear pants, and no one calls them crossdressers. If boys could wear dresses without anyone batting an eye, would you do it? Well, yeah. But that'd be different. If boys could wear makeup and be named Charlotte without worrying about it, would you give it a try? I guess so. What if a boy could be called a girl? Being called she and Charlotte is a lot like trying on a new set of clothes. Look, I feel like I know you pretty well. I don't think that would change, no matter what you are wearing. The best case I can make for it is that it's always good to try new things, and this is a pretty safe place to do it if you want to. When you leave, you can leave it behind if you like. But I'll still be your friend no matter what. Thanks. It still feels like I'd be doing something really wrong. Is that the biggest reason for not doing it? That, and I don't want to start dating boys or anything. Hey, you don't see us trying to set Georgia up with any guys, do you? No, I guess not. Well, I'm not going to make up your mind for you. If you go down there as a guy and Ms. Hughes gets mad, I'll chew her out for you, I swear I will. But I don't think she's going to do that. I think she just wants you to have fun this summer. Thanks. I do think the dresses are kind of neat. It was fun to wear. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I came here this summer. I like playing dress up a lot. There's just something about wearing a uniform. Lily smiled. It's kind of dumb, but I like being my own dress-up doll. Sometimes I'll look at myself and think I look totally ridiculous, but it's fun. That's how it felt. I looked at myself and I looked like another person. It was really odd to see that, like an out-of-body experience. I enjoyed it, but I'm afraid of taking it too seriously. You don't always have to take things seriously. So what would make you feel comfortable? 20 minutes later, Lily and Charlotte marched downstairs, both wearing black and white maids' uniforms with white aprons, stockings, and headdresses. They entered the kitchen where they found the girls and Ms. Hughes eating breakfast. Georgia smiled and silently waved at Charlotte. Lily held up her hand. Okay, everyone, this is Charlie, but you may call him Charlotte. He is not a girl, but you may still refer to him as she or girl if you want to. She's just doing this for fun, because she doesn't have a big problem with it. She wants to fit in, and she thinks dresses are kind of neat. If anyone makes fun of her, she's going to go back to being called Charles, and then he's going to do nothing but lay around playing video games and watching football all day. Are we all good with that? I'm good with it. As long as you do your work, said Ms. Hughes. I'd still like to make fun of him a little bit, said Kate, but not about the dress. I mean, we got to make fun of George here when he became Georgia. And Lily used to be Lyle. Yes, and who did you used to be? Asked Lily. Katen? Cater. Kitty? Yep, that's what we do here, turn boys into girls, Ms. Hughes said, folding her paper. You're kidding, right? Asked Charlotte. I'm kidding about everyone, but one. Yeah, so who's the boy? Charlotte looked genuinely puzzled. And here I thought it might take you a long time to get comfortable, Ms. Hughes said, pointing back at Charlotte. Oh. Feeling better then? Yeah, I guess so. Good, because Lily's going to show you how to clean rooms. We have a lot of guests coming in for the weekend. But I get her tonight, Lily interjected. Yes. What are you doing with me tonight? I made Miss Hughes promise I could take you down to the clothing fair if you came down in the dress. Like a bet or something? No, it's just something I really wanted to do. I thought you'd enjoy it. Oh, thank you. Charlotte spent the rest of the morning making up rooms with Lily. They started by working on each room together so that Charlotte could figure out what she was doing. A while later, they split the rooms and Charlotte started cleaning some by herself, but this was slow going because frankly she wasn't very good at it, and Lily had to double-check her work. After the first hour, the fun of wearing the uniform became secondary to the task at hand, and Charlotte found herself forgetting about it. Though a few times a guest would stop her and ask about her clothes. A young married woman asked if anyone sold the dresses, and Charlotte told her to ask Ms. Hughes about it. There was a fairly long break between noon and 4 when Charlotte didn't have any chores, so Charlie came back down in one of his boy suits to read in the kitchen. Kate was in there preparing food. Hey, Charlie. Didn't you have fun this morning? It was less exhausting than yard work, but there's a lot to pay attention to. So why'd you take off the dress? Are you done with it? No. I mean, I was just taking a break. I didn't think I needed to dress all day. Oh, okay. So are you going to help out in the kitchen tonight? Yes, but I'm not scheduled for another hour. And then I'm only helping out for a bit. Lily wanted to take me somewhere tonight. I'm working all night. You should do your kitchen shift as Charlotte, it'll be more fun. I guess I could. But how is it more fun? I don't know. I just think it's kind of neat when you dress up. Plus you could go out in the dining room and waitress if you want. I've never done that before. It's hard work, but you get tips. If it's slow, just 1 or 2 people, you should totally do it. Why is it neat when I dress up? I don't know, you're prettier. It's like a game. When I'm here in this house, dressed in these clothes, I feel like I'm a little girl. I want to have tea parties and sleep with stuffed animals. Do you like that kind of thing? I've never really tried that, it always seemed a little silly to me. I'm usually kind of serious. That's part of the fun of seeing you dress up, I think. That I'm serious? Sure, serious women are always the prettiest. Like Miss Hughes, she can be barking orders at men while she's in a puffy pink dress, and they'll take her more seriously for it. Of course, if I tried to do that, I don't think it'd work. I guess I could dress up for the kitchen tonight. Really? You should, please, I guess I could. You should go do it now. My shift's not for a little bit. Then just hang out. Please. Lily and Georgia both got to see you dressed for a long time. But I've hardly seen Charlotte at all. I feel left out. All right. I'll be right back. Charlie went up and switched into the yellow kitchen dress. When Charlotte came back down, Kate took a 10-minute break and took Charlotte back upstairs to do her makeup. Charlotte had to admit that she didn't really know how to do it herself, and Kate offered to help her learn over the next few days. Later that evening, Lily took her to the clothing fair. It was really a swap meet where a bunch of local clothes makers could show their wares to tourists without needing their own shops. Most of the clothes were all too expensive for either girl to afford. So they just browsed, but when Lily saw Charlotte fumbling around in her clothes, looking for Charlie's wallet, she bought her a simple black leather purse. Charlotte did make one purchase of her own. The local wig shop had a small table of clip-in ponytails. Lily tried a few on, but her hair was already past shoulder length, so they didn't do much for her. Charlotte's hair was short, and when she tried clipping one in, it instantly made her hair so much more beautiful. Between the chores and Kate's makeup lessons, Charles didn't get much time away from Charlotte for most of the week, and he was looking forward to Wednesday. Wednesdays are always slow, as the hotel didn't have many guests scheduled, and he could wander around town as Charles. It turns out they didn't get any dinner reservations, and Miss Hughes decided to close the kitchen for the night to give the girls a bit of time off together. When Charlotte got back from cleaning up the 4 rooms that were occupied, she went back to her own room to find a bit of a surprise. Lily, Georgia, and Kate were all trying on Charles's boy clothes. Lily had on his brown suit, which was a tad small for her. Georgia had on his gray suit, which fit her just right. And his dark blue suit was hanging off Kate, who was using a belt and rolling up the pants in order to get the suit to fit at all. Lily and Georgia both had their hair pushed up under caps, and there wasn't any sign of their breasts. They were helping Kate wrap an ace bandage around hers. "What's going on?" Charlotte asked. Lily answered, "Oh hey Charlotte, we just wanted to try on some of Charles's clothes. Hope you don't mind." Georgia continued the explanation even as she helped Kate close her shirt and tuck her hair up under a cap. "We all got to talking about how neat it was that you get to be a girl sometimes, and we were wondering what it would be like if we tried to be boys." Kate took a pair of Charles's socks and stuffed them down the front of her pants. "Hope you don't mind." Lily and Georgia saw her do this and instantly grabbed more pairs of Charles's socks and stuffed them down their own pants. "But you're wearing all of my boy clothes. Charles was going to go out tonight." "Oh, sorry about that." "I guess we did," Georgia apologized. "It's just for one night. You'll live." "So what were you all going to do?" "We wanted to have a boys' night out." "No silly girls allowed," Lily joked. "But what about Charlotte?" asked Kate. "No silly girls allowed. George, Lyle, and Keith are going carousing," said George, IA. "None of you are old enough to drink." "The silly girl has a point," Lyle poked her gently in the ribs. Keith interjected, "Actually there's a street carnival. It's still setting up for this weekend. But some of the games are already open." "Still, I don't know if I want a girl around," Georgia made a sour face at Charlotte. "Fine, well then I'm asking her out." Keith pushed through the other boys and held Charlotte's hand. "Dear sweet Charlotte, would you do me the honor of accompanying me this evening?" Suddenly George, IA, looked stunned. "Hey, what are you up to?" "Well, you didn't ask her. You called her a silly girl. Besides, I borrowed something from Miss Hughes for her." Keith went over to the closet and pulled out a dark mauve dress with black ruffles and lace. It was long and elegant, the style that Miss Hughes normally wore. Charlotte's eyes glistened. She hadn't thought it was possible to lust after a dress. "Wow, Kate." "Keith. I don't know what to say. It's beautiful." "So you'll go out with me?" "Of course." "Hey, what about us?" Lyle looked at Charlotte with disappointed eyes. "I guess you guys can tag along." They passed Miss Hughes on the way out the door. She shook her head. "You know, you guys are bonkers. Have a good time, and Charlotte, please try to keep yourself, the boys, and that dress out of trouble." Keith and Charlotte locked arms on the way to the street fair. They didn't hold hands or brush up against one another. It was the way a groomsman and a bridesmaid will treat each other. In heels, Charlotte towered a good 4 inches over him. George would try to stride up next to them so he could be near to Charlotte, but Keith and Charlotte made a game of walking close to obstacles, so he'd have to back away. Lyle was trying to keep his cool and stood back from the group, whistling some old Southern tune. The street fair was amazing, even if it wasn't fully set up. It was near the town's lake, and when the gas lamps came on, they reflected against the water. A small flock of ducks would swim to one side of the lake, and then fly back to the other. Workmen had just finished setting up an old wooden carousel and a Ferris wheel. And there were several games of skill and chance lined up behind the town hall. They all sat and ate corn dogs by the lake. And one of the funnier moments of the evening was when Keith got up to use the bathroom and stood bewildered for a good long minute looking between the signs on the men's and women's room, before charging ahead into the men's room. He came out about 30 seconds later and darted into the women's. George took the opportunity to sit next to Charlotte. "How's the date with Keith going?" he asked nervously. "You know it's just for fun. We're just being silly." "Oh. Okay," he wasn't making eye contact. "Would you like to go up in the Ferris wheel with me?" "Sure." George awkwardly held out his hand, Charlotte took it, and they made their way into a car. "Hey, George. You seem a little quiet." "Sorry about that. I've just been thinking about the other night. If we're alone, you think you could call me Georgia?" "Oh, sorry, Georgia. I didn't realize." "It's no big deal. I mean, I like the boy game and all. It's just that I haven't gotten to talk to you in a while." The wheel started in motion, and they took each other's hand as they watched the ground fall away. Georgia pulled off her cap and shook out her hair. "I don't want to do anything that'll get us into trouble. But I missed you. You see me every day." "I know. But I still think about that night." "Do you?" "Yes, of course. But I guess I don't know what to do about it." The car stopped when they were almost at the top. The night got silent, and they could hear the riders above them. It was a man proposing to a woman. He'd written a love poem, "The 5 Things I Love About You." When he got to number 5, he retitled the poem "The 10 Things I Love About You," and repeated the renaming until he got to 30, when the wheel started up again. This startled the woman, who started giggling until she could blurt out yes. Georgia and Charlie smiled back at one another, and they kissed each other gently on the ride down. When they got back to the group, they found Lyle at a game, throwing baseballs at a pyramid of stacked cups. He was taking turns with a man, and they seemed to be in a bit of a competition. The man was thin, and had an almost comic handlebar mustache. He was wearing a navy blue military uniform that, despite his best efforts, didn't completely conceal the shape of the breasts that lie underneath. Keith introduced them. "Charlotte, this is Colonel Hughes, Colonel Hughes. This is Charlotte." It was, of course, Miss Hughes, and when she opened her mouth to speak, she tried to sound like a British military man. Her voice was silly, but it got the idea across. "Charlotte, Charlotte. So pleased to meet such a pretty young lady, with staggeringly intelligent fashion sense." Colonel Hughes motioned to the dress they borrowed from her. "Young Keith and I were just in competition to see who could master this damnable game. With your permission, whoever gets you the best prize should have your hand in marriage." Charlotte rolled her eyes. "That would be lovely." "She's game," Colonel Hughes called to Lyle. Before too long, the pair was hurling baseballs. Georgia wanted in on it too, and she stepped up beside them. Keith stayed back and chatted with Charlotte. "This is going to take a while." "Why do you say that?" Charlotte asked as the game attendant barely dodged a baseball. "None of them are into any sports. And as fun as it would be for them to win you something, I don't think it's going to happen." "Are you any good at sports?" "I ran some track. But I'm no good at throwing baseballs." "We could be here all night." They watched as Georgia lost grip on a baseball, and it went sailing backwards. The attendant didn't notice, and there weren't any sounds of screaming or shattering glass. "This is going to get ugly, expensive too." Charlotte took out a 20, unclipped her ponytail, put it in her purse and handed it to Keith. She went to the attendant and bought 10 throws. Baseballs started smashing through cups like an iceberg through the Titanic, and 5 minutes later, she was holding a 3-foot teddy bear with a red bow around its neck. The boys stood speechless until Colonel Hughes quipped, "Well, yes, I guess I could have done that. If I'd thought of it." The next day, things were more or less back to normal. A large number of guests were coming in for the street fair that weekend, so Lily and Charlotte had to make up most of the rooms. As they went between each house, Charlotte was pleasantly surprised to feel the warm breeze of the day encircling her legs. She even caught herself skipping a few times. Lily noticed this, raised an eyebrow and skipped with her to the next house. They were done by early afternoon, and had most of the rest of the day to themselves. Charlotte turned back into Charles. He thought it strange to hear Lily fumbling around in the next room, as she usually wandered around the house, striking up conversations with whomever she could find. There was a knock on the bathroom door, and Lily called out, "Hey Charlie, could you come in here for a second?" He opened the door and saw someone he didn't immediately recognize. Lily was wearing regular street clothes, a loose white t-shirt and cargo pants. Her face had a strange gray tone, like she had 5 o'clock shadow, and it looked like she had some sort of fake sideburns. Her hair was held back in a loose ponytail, the front messy and swept over to the side. Her breasts didn't show at all. She looked like a pretty, rail-thin boy. "So what do you think? Why are you dressed like that?" "I was just thinking, maybe you could put on some of your old clothes, and we could get out of the district and do some boy stuff." I was also kind of hoping that we could avoid telling anyone about it. It didn't take long for Charles to slip into his old clothes. They snuck out the side door and started down the street, headed for the regular part of town. "Do you think Lyle is a good name?" "I was thinking I might rather be called Leon, if that's okay with you?" "Sure. But why did you want to try this anyway?" "It's just that I saw you were having a lot of fun being a girl, and I thought it's a shame boys don't get that experience. Then I thought I've never really had the experience of being a boy, and maybe I was missing out on a lot of things too. I had a lot of fun at the carnival, so I thought I'd try it again, a little more seriously this time. I was going to sneak out by myself, but you were up in the room. I hope you don't mind." "No, not at all. I'm a little surprised, but I'm happy to help. Do you think I look like a guy?" "A really skinny one, yes. Just don't go around starting any fights." "Do guys do that?" "Only the jerks. And not so much after junior high. Have you ever been in any fights?" Leon tried to pretend punch Charles in the shoulder. It came out too hard. "Ow. Not so hard. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Look, guys punch each other. But only the jerks do it hard like that. How do the good ones do it?" "Here, like this." Charles nudged Leon on the shoulder. "Oh, that's more like a really quick hug." "Exactly. Only jerkwads try to make it hurt." "Sorry about being a jerkwad." "That's okay. You're learning. Anything else I should be doing?" Charles thought about it. "Try spreading your legs out a little when you walk. If guys walk with their legs together, it hurts their balls." "Like this?" "I feel like I'm running to the bathroom." "Yeah, that's about right. So, I guess I hadn't thought this through very far. What should we do now?" "I dunno. What do guys do?" "Whatever. Play games, I guess, talk about cars, watch movies, throw rocks at things." "Whatever. Throw rocks at things?" "I was just kidding." "No, it's like that baseball game at the carnival." Let's go throw rocks at things. They walked to the other side of the lake where they found some glass bottles down by the water. Leon set them up on a log and they took turns throwing rocks at them. Charles shattered all but one. He started missing intentionally so Leon could have a chance of hitting it. You throw like a girl. Yeah, well, I didn't think this would be so hard. Just relax. Put your whole body into it and try to throw through the bottle, not at it. Leon still managed to miss 3 more times. But his 4th throw grazed the bottle and knocked it off the log. Good job. Thanks. Boy stuff is weird. Do you like it? I guess so. It's different anyway. I still don't think I know much about it. Just keep throwing rocks at stuff. You'll get the hang of it. Do boys do anything else? There's always sports, and if we were a little older there's shaving and beer. That and video games. There's a bowling alley down the way with an arcade. Want to go? Leon was a little better at video games. They stayed at the bowling alley for 45 minutes playing an old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game before Leon looked at the clock and decided it was time to go. They hadn't quite made it to the end boss, and they resolved to come back and try it again. Leon punched Charles in the arm. Ow! I thought I told you to do that gently. Oh, come on, it didn't hurt that much. Here, punch me in the arm, you big baby. Leon turned his shoulder to Charles, who smacked him. They both smiled, clutched their arms, and left. When they got to their rooms, back at home, and they were putting on their frilly-girly dresses, white stockings, and makeup, they paused for a moment to compare the bruises on their arms, then covered it up with makeup and went downstairs. Friday evening, Charles wandered in after running some errands in town. The house was quiet, and he wasn't sure where everyone was, but he found them all out in back, on the gazebo, drinking lemonade. They hadn't seen him, and he found himself eavesdropping on their conversation. You know what would be really funny? We should get Charles to do it. Come on, they might find him out. And then we'd all be in trouble. How are they going to do that? I mean, unless they check in his underwear, which they're not going to do. I swear, Georgia, sometimes you worry too much. Charles stepped in. You should get me to do what? The girls all started giggling, except for Lily. Ms. Hughes coughed on her lemonade. Oh, nothing, Charlie, we were all just joking, Kate said. Joking about me? He said, red-faced. A little, but mostly we were laughing at Madame Bowman. See, every summer she runs a little beauty pageant, and we thought it would be hilarious if a boy won it. On account that she hates men. Ms. Hughes spoke up, but I don't see the point, because we could never tell her that Charlotte, is a boy. What could she do about it? Well, nothing to you girls. But I could get in a lot of trouble. All right, fine, let's just forget about the pageant then. Kate raised her hand, but I still want to be in it. I don't care if I win. Do you want to do it with me, Charlie? When is it? Ms. Hughes jumped in again. It's Sunday, Charlie. It's a lot of fun if you want to do it, but let's not tick off my boss, shall we? What would I have to do? Stand around and look pretty. Answer some questions about Gallatin history. That sort of thing. I don't know anything about Gallatin history. They're all easy questions. There's even a cheat sheet. It takes about 20 minutes to memorize. It's probably the only time you will ever get the opportunity to be in a beauty pageant. Plus you get $1,000 if you win. $300 for second. Really? How many people enter it? It depends. Sometimes tourists enter. That's why there's the history questions. The judges like it when local girls win. There's also a talent contest. Do you have any talents? None that I can think of. Lily raised her hand. You can throw rocks and baseballs at things really well. Georgia raised her hand. I'd love to see her win with that. Come on, I'm not that good. You seem pretty good to me. See, that'd be hilarious right there. A girl winning a beauty pageant with rock throwing. That would be pretty funny. Charles started cracking up. See, now you have to do it. But if you do, we'd need a certain amount of shock factor. What do you mean? You can't look like a tomboy at all. You need to look as girly girl as possible. It'll make it funnier. I'm not sure I'm up for that. Oh, come on. Even you think it's funny. Plus you'd get to wear a super fancy dress. What dress? I could make one tomorrow. Ms. Hughes raised her hand. You can make a fancy dress in a day? Georgia asked. Ms. Hughes looked at her sideways. Yes. I can sew. Besides, I know a few tricks. We'll have to get her hair done, and her nails. What about Kate? Doesn't she need a dress? Charles asked. Don't worry. I've got one. It's a big puffy pink one. I haven't had a chance to wear it. And also, unless anyone has any objection, I can take care of Charlotte's makeup. Fine, you're better at it anyway, Georgia said, but seemed disappointed. That evening Miss Hughes measured Charles for Charlotte's new dress. She had several adjustable dress dummies and went through each one until she could get his shape just right. After that, they hardly saw anything of her, but they could hear the sounds of an electric sewing machine coming from her office whenever they passed by. Hand stitching was preferred, and the judges would take note of the dress. However, Justine Hughes was a master of sewing trickery. She'd double over the seams, so the machine stitches wouldn't show, and then do a few choice parts by hand. She also had a sewing machine that faked hand stitching quite well. No one in town was aware that she had it, or that such a thing even existed. Light pastel colors were too usual for the pageant. There would be dozens of yellow dresses, and even more pink ones. A deeper color was sure to get noticed, but green would make Charlotte look like a leprechaun, and red would make her look like a slut. Instead, she went with the translucent blue fabric she'd bought when she went to White Bell. She'd intended to use it for herself, but she couldn't resist, and the color would work better on someone more youthful anyway. Kate and Charlotte walked to the town hall to register. Thankfully, when Charlotte said she forgot her ID, they let Kate vouch for her. Kate borrowed Miss Hughes' car and they drove over to the next town, where Kate's sister worked at a salon. Charles's hair was a light sandy brown color, and the salon tinted it into a dark reddish blonde for Charlotte. They added hair extensions and curled it neatly so that two great blonde tresses fell from either side of her head without hanging in front of her face. The salon glued false nails to her hands, but kept them short, trying to rely on shape rather than size so as to not interfere with her talent. Kate insisted on keeping Charlotte's makeup clean and simple. She knew that any strong colors would clash with the blue of the dress. So they went with muted pink tones. Of course, the competition wasn't until tomorrow, so they sold the girls the products they needed, and because Kate's sister worked there, they sold them at cost. During the makeover, Kate quizzed Charlotte from her cheat sheet on Gallatin history. The next day, when the outfit was complete, Charlotte looked remarkably like an elegant version of Alice in Wonderland. Kate's dress, which she had described as puffy pink, turned out to be a dark pink, almost mauve gown. It was distinctly Victorian, with bustles up the back of the skirt. She wore dark makeup that matched her dark brown hair. The competition was a strange mix of tourists and local girls. It wasn't how Charlotte had imagined it at all. She felt poked and prodded and generally uncomfortable. She felt like Charles, a skinny little awkward boy standing in front of everyone in a dress. And she probably wouldn't have even gotten to the second round if it hadn't been for her getting the history questions right. Ms. Hughes and the girls were watching from the audience. And despite their comforting smiles, Charlotte could see a strained look of pain behind their eyes whenever she messed up. Kate was doing much better. She seemed unfazed by the pressure, like she enjoyed it. Not only did she always say the right thing, but she said it in the right way. Once the time came for the talent competition, the idea of throwing rocks just seemed stupid and clumsy and something a boy would do. So Charlotte snuck out the back door and sat in back of the town hall next to an apple cart. The pageant was used to this sort of thing and her name wasn't called. No one seemed to notice. She overheard the winner's ceremony. Kate got second runner-up, the mayor's daughter first runner-up, and a Japanese tourist, who happened to be a piano virtuoso, took first. The winners exited through the back and were making their way around to a horse-drawn carriage in the front. Charlotte watched unseen from behind the apple cart when something unexpected happened. Two dark figures crept out of an alcove and surrounded the girls on either side. One man messed with the door, so it wouldn't open. Apparently Madame Bowman was crazy, because she'd awarded the winners as soon as they were announced and she awarded them in cash. The men grabbed the envelopes and started going through the girls' things. It was like Charlotte was watching the whole thing on television. The men started tearing at Kate's dress, not to get at her, it didn't look like, but to see if she had anything valuable. An apple exploded against one of the men's heads. Then another and another. He turned to see where they were coming from just in time for another to strike him right in the eyes. The other man grabbed the prize envelopes. Charlotte remembered she still had the rocks she was going to throw in the competition, and one nailed the man in the back of the head, knocking him out. The other man saw this and left the envelopes and the girls alone. He pulled his shirt up over his head and ran for the lake. He jumped in and started swimming away. A minute later, a police cruiser showed up. A very modern-looking cop put one of the men in handcuffs, and they could see the red and blue lights of another cruiser waiting for the other man as he came up on shore. Charlotte was shy about talking to the policeman. She wasn't sure if she should tell them his real name, and she was worried that throwing the rock would get her into trouble. When the man did ask her name, she told them Charlie, as that could go either way. When the other girls told the policeman about the barrage of apples, he laughed and congratulated Charlie on her handwork. Interestingly enough, he also used a little flip camcorder to record statements from each of the girls. Kate was more angry than traumatized about the incident, but she came by Charlotte's room after nights out to ask if she could sleep there. They grabbed some cushions off of a nearby couch and Kate slept on the floor. Kate was more angry than traumatized about the incident, but she came by Charlotte's room after nights out to ask if she could sleep there. They grabbed some cushions off of a nearby couch and Kate slept on the floor. The next morning, Ms. Hughes came by a little early to wake them up. She poked her head in with a strange grin. "Hey Charlie, guess what? Are the police here?" "No, just come here." "You too, Kate." Charlie rubbed her eyes and stumbled out of bed. She usually thought of herself as a boy in the mornings before she got dressed, but she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror, and with her hair extensions and shaped fingernails, that wasn't happening. She helped Kate up, and the two followed Miss Hughes back to her office in their pajamas. They've never seen Miss Hughes use a computer before, but she had a laptop sitting on her desk and she pulled up YouTube. There was a video from a security camera showing the two muggers hassling the pageant winners, and then a girl in the blue dress hurling apple after apple into their heads. It had 37,000 views. The video was titled "How Do You Like Them Apples?" I'm not sure who posted it. Their name's not on the profile, but it's getting a lot of views. All the folks in town are passing it around. And here, check this out. Ms. Hughes showed them the paper. The front page headline was "Girl Loses Pageant, Catches Thieves." There was a half-page picture, a still from the security footage of Charlotte winding up with an apple just as another was striking the mugger. The light from the sunset was coming from just the right angle, huh? I have a feeling this next week is going to be interesting. After the girls finished with their chores, Ms. Hughes took Charlotte back to the street fair. Some of the food vendors were selling something called Charlotte apples, which turned out to be caramel apples. The sign over them was freshly painted with a caricature picture of a blonde girl in a blue dress holding an apple like a baseball and winking. "Well, that's certainly interesting," Ms. Hughes remarked. "It's Charlotte on the sign, right?" asked Charlotte. "Certainly looks that way." "Wow, she's really getting famous." "Why do you keep referring to yourself in the third person?" "I don't know," Charlotte said, matter of fact. "I suppose it is overwhelming." "I mean, I'd be overwhelmed." "You don't feel so bad about losing the pageant now, do you, Charlotte?" "Oh, sorry, do you want to be called Charlotte?" "It's okay." "Should I call you Charles?" "No." Charlotte whispered quite loudly and looked over both shoulders. "I mean, what if someone heard?" "Oh, I see. Well, what do you call yourself?" "I mean, in your mind?" "I go back and forth, it's confusing." "Do you call yourself Charlotte when you're dressed?" "Most of the time." "Not all the time." "Sometimes I'll get this odd feeling. I feel like Charles even when I'm all dolled up." Her whispering was quiet now. She started leading Ms. Hughes away from the crowd. "Then I feel like a crossdresser," Ms. Hughes whispered back. "You know, I'm a little worried about what your mom is going to say about Charlotte." Now Charlie looked worried. "Do we have to tell her?" "Well, I hadn't intended to, but I'm starting to think it might be a good idea." "I'm not trying to worry you, though I know I must be." "I won't tell her if you ask me not to, but it's just if you were my child, I'd want to know. And with everything that's happened, I think she's going to find out one way or the other. I'd rather it was from you or me. God, I'm going to get in so much trouble." "Not as much as me, I think." "Why do you say that?" "You're not exactly the same as when she dropped you off." "She didn't drop me off, I rode the bus." "Good point. Have you ever tried being Charlotte before this summer?" "Does your mom know anything?" "Honestly?" "Please." "I tried on a pair of her shoes once, and coat, it was pink. A few years ago, just to see. I'm not sure if I put them back quite right." She was looking at me funny for a week. "That's so strange, isn't it? When she was a little girl, your mom, Olivia, used to be quite the tomboy. I remember our mother trying to get her to try on dresses, but Olivia wouldn't have anything of it." "You think she wouldn't like me doing it?" "I think she might have gone through something similar, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. But honestly, I haven't seen your mom in a while. I don't know her so well anymore. She's always wrapped up in work. I think she feels like if she takes a break, the world will end. That's kind of funny when I think that you look like your mom, only you relax from time to time and like wearing dresses." "You know, that's still embarrassing to hear." "Which part?" "Both." "Do you want to stop?" "Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. You know, I always took it as a little insulting that some men think the worst thing in the world to be is a woman. I work hard, I look good, what's wrong with that? I mean, sure, I can't pee standing up, or shave my face. Not that I want to. And I get that some men look at me and just think about what I look like in my underwear. But God, it gets old. You know, one thing I've noticed is that girls do talk a lot. I'm not complaining, just saying. A strange old lady in a white dress hurried up to them, several men followed behind. It was Madame Bowman. She was surprisingly spry for an old lady and tried to show that off as she moved, though her walk was unsteady and her legs shook a bit. She stopped and stared at Charlotte for a second. Only one of her eyes looked straight at Charlotte, the other drifted a bit. You know you look just like Charlotte. Madame Bowman had sort of pompous high society voice, the kind that sounds like it's trying to be an English accent. I am Charlotte. From the house, or the one with the apples? Ms. Hughes stepped in, both Madame. Our little Charlotte here has quite the arm on her. Yes, it's too bad they don't let girls play baseball. I giggled to myself for hours after Clive here. She pointed one of the men with her, showed me the video. I must say, you're fantastic, Charlotte. I hope you don't mind, but I had some of shops put your picture on their signs. Did you know tourism is up? After that video went out, people have been calling in, asking about the historic district. And they're booking rooms too. It's true. Ms. Hughes shrugged and smiled. Well, I'm so glad you're one of the house girls, Charlotte. I'm serious about putting your picture up on the shops. You're our very own folk hero. All I did was throw some apples. You saved 3 girls. You proved that a little girl can take on 2 grown men. I love it. I'm serious about the signs, you know. I'll have Clive draw up a contract. After a painfully detailed recount of something Madame Bowman had done as a child, during which Charlotte, Charles, and Charlie took turns daydreaming, she left them with Clive, who asked them to sign a release form. Charlotte and Miss Hughes were both a little shocked when it mentioned royalties, and even more so when it stated that Charlotte would make 3 public appearances a week in her blue dress. They didn't have to be anything specific, she just needed to get out to the fair. The next week was very odd. Madame Bowman would call up Miss Hughes every day and talk her ear off, then Miss Hughes would ask Charlotte questions off a list that the Madame had given her over the phone. Some questions were fairly normal. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? Other were more demanding. Have you been down the fair today? Could you go tonight? Charlotte didn't really like all the attention, and with the house booking more guests, Miss Hughes didn't always have someone free to accompany her down to the fair. Charlotte also worried that she wasn't seeing much of Charles. The hair extensions and nails were gone, but Charlotte had to dress up whenever anyone might see her. The only time Charles got was when he'd sit out back under a shade tree by himself. It was like being in a month-long beauty pageant where Charlotte was the only contestant. She wanted to run away and go sit by an apple cart, but it would probably have her face pasted all over it. Madame Bowman was true to her word about the royalty checks. Each week she'd send Charlotte Hughes a check for around $100. Which is less than it sounds when you consider that Charles Hughes didn't have a good way of depositing them, and they sat on his dresser for several weeks. Eventually they figured out that he could sign them over to Justine Hughes, and because they shared the same last name, no one at the bank would make a fuss about it. Madame Bowman's phone requests became more strange and oddly demanding. She'd ask Charlotte to go to the fair and try this or that ride and then to report back on which ones she liked. It was also very odd that the Mad Madame, as they started calling her, never wanted to speak to Charlotte directly and preferred passing messages through Ms. Hughes. Asterisk 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 Ms. Hughes had just got off the phone with Madame Bowman. Oh. Hey. Charlie, guess what? What does she want me to do now? Charlotte's been, asked out, on a date, with Paul Bowman. Charlie didn't move. He didn't say a word. That's flattering, isn't it? Continued Ms. Hughes. I can't do that. I'm a boy. She wasn't exactly taking no for an answer. I was going to tell her you were sick, but she started the conversation by asking how you were. She asked specifically about your health. To which I said not to worry, that Charlotte was fine. Then she asked if I could let you out of work tonight, and only after I said that would be okay, she told me it was for a date with Paul. I'm sure he's very nice. They were talking in the kitchen. Kate had overheard and came in. Kate spoke slowly, she was trying to be delicate. A friend of mine went on a date with him once. And? He's kind of, how shall I put this gently, overbearing. In what way? Asked Ms. Hughes. He never really wanted to hear about my friend, he just wanted to talk about himself. And he was grabby. Is your friend sure? Charles asked timidly. Okay, it was me. Some friends set me up with him one time. I mean, he's charming, I guess in a caveman sort of way. And he's respectful-ish, he didn't just paw at me, but he kept hinting at it, and he'd take any excuse to bump into me. He's full of himself too. Is there any way I can get out of this? Charlie asked. Ms. Hughes looked at Charles carefully. I can call her back and tell her you said no. It's fine, I'm sure it won't be any trouble. We'll be fine. Kate drummed her fingers on the table, that's how Ms. Hughes talks when she's worried. No, I'm sure it'll be fine. We're all mature people. We all respect each other. I'm sure Madame Bowman will get over it. Couldn't we tell her that I'm a lesbian? We could, but as much as she hates men, she's not a very progressive thinker. That's Ms. Hughes' way of saying that she's a bigot. Kate interjected. Ms. Hughes gave her a look. That's not a very nice thing to say. It's true, just not very nice to say. Well, then she might leave me alone, I'd be fine with that, said Charlie. Ms. Hughes raised a finger. And she might ask me to kick you out of the house. She'd probably say it was, to protect the other girls. It'd be better to just turn him down cold. Couldn't you say I have a boyfriend? She asked about that too. I said you didn't. Kate interjected again, it'd just be one date. Look it as a way to get free food. I used to do it all the time, maybe I shouldn't have admitted that. You think I should go on it? Charlie looked horrified. Well, you never have to do anything on a first date. You can always just say, not on the first date, that works. Then after that, feign illness. I mean, he's not that bad of a guy. But you wouldn't date him again? Oh God, no. But then it wouldn't be the first date, and he might expect more. The madame did say he wanted to take you to Franklin's. That's a nice restaurant. A little fancy for the first date, but the Bowmans are loaded. Look, if you're not comfortable with this, I'll just call her back. Honestly, do you think she'd be fine with it? Charlie asked. Honestly. Ms. Hughes was biting her lips, honestly. She started tapping the table. Charlie gave her a look, he knew something was up. I could live through it. She'll go into some tirade about canceling the reservations and want to know why you turned him down without even meeting him. But it's more bark than bite. Charlie looked sick. Oh fine, I'll go. Georgia crept out from around the corner. She was composed, and maybe Miss Hughes and Kate couldn't tell, but Charlie could see she was pissed off. If the mad madame is being so generous, tell her to call the restaurant back and tell them the reservations are for 4. Who's going? Ms. Hughes asked. Me and... I don't know yet, but I'll find a date. Miss Hughes called the madame back and told her to expect 4. One odd thing about Franklin's was that it wasn't in the historic district, so it would have looked odd to go in historic clothes. Georgia took the opportunity to dress up Charlotte in her clothes. It was the first time Charlotte had been in modern women's clothes, and it looked odd to Charlie to see himself looking like a typical teenage girl. The historic clothes all felt like costumes, but this felt entirely real. Before too long, Georgia had Charlotte in a pleated black skirt, a gray top with black lace, and pantyhose. "I wish I could do this all day," Georgia sighed. "Do what?" Georgia looked up and away. "Dress you up." "What do you mean by that?" "Promise you won't get mad?" "I'll try not to. I really like dressing you up. When I see you in one of your outfits, my mind just starts wandering. I'll think about it before I go to bed at night. I imagine what you'd look like in all sorts of things." Charlie's eyes got wide. "Like what?" "Well, the maid's dress is my favorite. But sometimes I imagine you as a nurse or a waitress. Sometimes I wonder what you'd look like as a pin-up model." She moved in close and started whispering, "I'd like to see you dressed as a schoolgirl with the white socks and the short plaid skirt." Georgia closed her eyes and licked her lips. "What I really want to do is take you down to Victoria's Secret and dress you up in all sorts of lacy outfits, maybe some stockings with a garter belt, maybe a corset." Charlie was sweating and nervous. "Why are you telling me this?" "I just wanted to give you something to think about during the date." She winked and shrugged off her mood, seemingly going back to normal anyway. "I need to go find a boy. I have no idea where. I guess I'll start calling all the guys from school I don't hate. But there aren't that many." Half an hour later, Paul Bowman came by to pick up Charlotte. He was a big boy, slightly tall, slightly muscular, and slightly fat. His face was handsome but brutish with an overly heavy brow and large features. While he talked in a confident tone of voice, he'd never look Charlotte in the eye while doing so. Georgia was gone somewhere, and while Charlotte tried to stall, it was getting closer and closer to the reservation time. Paul went on and on about how he was going to get into business after he went to college, and about how rich his family was, but throughout he was nervously glancing at his watch. Eventually, he rubbed his forehead and meekly asked if Charlotte's friends could meet them there. Charlotte was having a hard time not imagining him groping her, and she wasn't thrilled with the prospect. She tried to keep her distance in the conversation, but he was being civil, so she texted Georgia and agreed to go to the restaurant with him. The hostess asked, "Table for 2?" but Charlotte corrected her, letting her know that 2 more would be coming. Once they got to the table, Charlotte didn't say much of anything. Paul continued to talk, and curiously he brought up facts about her. "So I hear your favorite color is blue. I know you'll like this place because you like fish. What was it like when you went to Mexico with your mom?" Before too long, Charlotte figured out these were all things Madame Bowman had asked her through Ms. Hughes. Paul was regurgitating the answers to the questions from over the phone. He also, on a few occasions, brushed his knee against hers under the table. The brushes weren't lingering and they might have been accidental, but they were creepy. About half an hour into dinner, Georgia showed up with a date. It was Leon. Charlie didn't think the ruse would last very long, but the lighting was dark and it was hard to tell that Lily's beard shadow was simply makeup. Paul didn't seem to notice, though he did make an offhand remark about Leon being a slender pretty boy. They switched seats and Georgia sat across from Charlotte. Whenever Paul started to talk, Georgia would gaze into Charlotte's eyes. Whenever Paul talked about how much money his family had, Georgia would slip off her shoe and quite deliberately touch Charlotte's leg under the table with her toe. At first, Charlotte was surprised by this, and almost jumped out of her chair. But whenever Georgia stopped doing it, Charlotte found herself staring across the table into Georgia's eyes and waiting. Leon started talking to Paul about shaving. Georgia kicked Charlotte under the table and said, "We should go freshen up." The two went to the ladies' room together. "Why are you acting so weird?" Charlotte asked. "Why are you on a date with a boy?" "I couldn't really get out of it. Miss Hughes would get into trouble. Plus, hey, it's free food." "Do you like him?" "No, don't be silly. He totally just wants to jump you. You know he's imagining you naked. I bet he doesn't even know what you're wearing. Are you jealous?" Georgia applied dark red lipstick and responded, "Of course. Here, I want to try something." She started leading Charlotte to the farthest stall. "What?" Charlotte's heart started to pound. She felt like she should be running, but she didn't want to. "Don't worry. We won't get into trouble." When they were both inside, Georgia turned around so her back was facing Charlotte. "Unzip me. I want to switch clothes with you." She was wearing a tight little black dress. Charlotte tried to keep contact to a minimum while unzipping Georgia and then helped her work her way out of the dress. Georgia was wearing black lingerie. Charlotte was quivering. "You like? Maybe I'll let you wear it sometime." Charlotte's arms were full, keeping the dress off the floor. Georgia reached in and very carefully started undoing Charlotte's buttons. When she was done, she had Charlotte step out of the skirt and then put it on herself. She had Charlotte hold the dress with one hand and then the other, so she could slip her top off. Georgia slipped it on, buttoned it, and took the dress from Charlotte. They looked into each other's eyes. "You know, I could do this with you all day." Georgia helped Charlotte get the dress up over her head and zipped her up the back. On the way out of the ladies' room, Georgia stopped Charlotte by the mirror and applied the same dark red lipstick to Charlotte's lips, then briefly, gently, kissed her. When they got back, Leon started cracking up. Paul laughed, but then asked, "What are we all laughing about?" Paul offered to pay for everyone, then took Charlotte home and asked if he could come in. Charlotte flatly told him, "Not on the first date," and turned him a cold shoulder. Leon pretended like he was going home. He walked around the block and snuck in the side door. Madame Bowman asked for Charlotte to go on more dates with Paul. But Miss Hughes made sure Charlotte was always busy, or sick, or out of town. It was all very odd. Once while Charlotte was at the fair, she saw Paul with another girl. He didn't seem to take much notice of Charlotte, and she wondered who was more interested in her, Paul or the mad madame. 3 weeks later, the Bowmans announced that they were changing the name of some of their grocery stores, from Bowmans to Charlotte's. It turns out some of Harriet Bowman's obsession might have been caused by a series of embolisms. Charlie was sitting out back, behind a tree in one of his boy suits, with his hair tied back, when Georgia found him. "Harriet Bowman just died." Charlie really wanted to say something nice. Instead he blurted out, "Oh, thank God. Wait, you're not kidding? You're going to hell for that." Georgia joked, though fazed by the remark. "I just thought you were trying to cheer me up." "No, she's dead. Miss Hughes has been looking for you, you know." "Something about Charlotte and the Bowmans. What, do I need to dress up and throw apples at her funeral?" "Geez, don't hold back. Tell me what you really think." "Sorry, I just feel so trapped. It's too bad she's dead. I'm sure she was a nice lady, and she meant well. Miss Hughes told me she used to be a lot of fun, up until a few years ago. It sounds like she had a stroke or something. You should be nicer to people. My grandma had Alzheimer's. Before we put her in a home, we'd go over to visit her. The last time, she forgot who we were halfway through, and called the cops on us. They got my dad in handcuffs before we could explain. I hope that never happens to me. I never want to be a crazy old man or lady." Still thinking about going back to being a stinky boy, are we? I mean, Charlotte can't stay forever. Yeah, well, do whatever you want. Anyway, Miss Hughes really does want to see you. Guess what? What? The crazy old witch who made your life hell, and who you thanked God when she died, left Charlotte something in her will. Hello, Mom. It isn't too late for me to call, is it? It's 1:30 in the morning here, but I'm up working. What is it, Charles? Is it something important? I think so. Well, what is it then? Are you all right? Yes, I'm fine. I guess. It's just that this might be really hard to say. Something strange, something unusual happened. Unusual good? Unusual bad? Well, both, I guess. It's really hard to say, because I think you either might be really mad, or really happy about it, or both. Did you get married? You're only 15. No, it's nothing like that. Your dad didn't come by, did he? No. Well, look, I don't want to play guessing games all night. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Charles, but you called me. Sorry. I just don't want you to hate me. This is something, isn't it? Are you trying to tell me that you're gay? No, nothing like that. Wait, maybe it's a little like that. Maybe we should do the good part first. If you're gay, that's fine. That's not a bad thing. It's okay to be gay. Her voice sounded like she was trying to be funny, but she was also annoyed. They make all the best TV shows anyway. But what's the good part? Okay, the good part is really good. No, wait, if I tell you. You'll think I'm joking. Look, you need to come back to the States. What's going on, Charles? You're not going to believe me. So I'm just going to blurt it out, but promise me you'll wait for Aunt Justine to call. She's right here. Maybe you should put her on the phone now? No, this is something I probably better say. Then I'm going to hang up and Aunt Justine is going to call right back. Okay. I won't say a word. Okay, Mom. I've been living as a girl for the summer. I think I might actually really be a girl, Mom, and I think I might have just inherited $183 million from Harriet Bowman. The line went dead. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Miss Hughes looked nervously over at Charlie. I'm driving down to the airport to get your mom. I'll be back in 4 hours. He was in his boy clothes, everything is happening so fast. Lily is bringing her father's friend by. The doctor, at 3. His office is half an hour away, and he lives in town, so he offered to come here. Well, I need to get going, but hey, Charlie, Charlotte, Charles. Yes. Whatever you decide will be the right thing. Don't think about the money too much, okay? A few hours later, Lily came by with a tall, slender man. Though he had long hair, he was in no way feminine. He had a gentle masculinity about him, strong hands and deep eyes. As per his suggestion, Charlie was dressed as Charlotte, though in normal modern clothes she'd borrowed from Georgia. Lily left Charlotte and the man alone. He told her his first name was Matt, and asked her to call him by it. After the introductions, they got to the heart of the matter. The man spoke, wanting to change your gender to fulfill the terms of some will, concerns me, it's doing it for all the wrong reasons. But sitting across from you, talking to you, you don't seem disingenuous about it. Tell me how you feel. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Like I'll get in trouble. Whenever I'm a girl, I feel like people should treat me like I'm trite, or silly, or perverted. You're very intelligent, aren't you? You talk like you are. More than a girl your age should be. Oh, I guess so. You made a serious face just now, when I called you a girl. What were you thinking? I don't know. It's just like at school when someone calls you a fag. It's an insult. Do you take it that way? I guess so. But what? Also, deep down, I get a sensation. Is it exciting for you? I guess. But it makes me relax somehow. Look, what you were asking before. If you want to legally be female, it's not that hard. This is a very liberal state, especially when it comes to kids. You don't need to have any surgery, you can almost be a girl, just by saying you are, as long as a doctor agrees. You're a bit of a late bloomer, that's one reason you pass as a girl, but those hormones are going to catch up with you soon. You're going to have to make a choice. How do you feel about being a man? Having a deep voice, gaining muscle? Facial hair? Not looking like a girl? Charlotte stayed silent for a few moments, looked down like she was going to cry, then spoke. I found a few chest hairs last week. And what did you do? Did you want them? No, I pulled them out. And if I told you, you would get softer, prettier. How does that make you feel? What if you grew breasts? Charlotte held her breath, not wanting to admit anything. Does that make you feel better or worse? Better. It's just that well, I have a lot of ambitions, I don't want to give those up. You think you'd have to? I don't know. Look, Charlotte. I probably shouldn't say this. But you can do whatever you want. Okay, yes, there is some discrimination against women, I won't lie to you. If you go through with this, some guys would look at you like an object because you'd be female. But most won't, and you don't have to be around the other kind. Also, with all that money, I imagine you could have any ambition you want. It's not a good reason to do it, but it's a good reason to think your life might be okay if you did it. If you transition now, before puberty has run its full course, you'll be a very convincing woman, and no one will ever think you were anything but. I just don't know if I can give up being a man. I probably shouldn't tell you this either, and I'm not trying to make up your mind, but the fact of the matter is that it's a lot easier to go from female to male than the other way around. As long as you don't have surgery, you can switch to male hormones anytime down the line, and the most you'd need to do is remove your breasts. If you let your biological male hormones take hold, you will grow a beard, you will become broader, and your hands and feet will get bigger. You will not look as much like a woman if you ever decide to change. So what do you think? It's all about what you want. But either you make a choice, or biology will make it for you. Georgia was waiting with Charlotte in Ms. Hughes's office. They were both sitting quietly on the couch watching the garage when the car pulled up. Ms. Hughes brought Olivia around the back and into her office. Charlotte was in a modest dress, no makeup, but her hair was done, and she looked very feminine. Olivia's eyes just about popped out, and she took a step back, visibly shaken. Then she looked at her child and smiled. Could we be alone for a moment? Ms. Hughes and Georgia left the room. Charlotte was shaking. So what do you think, Mom? Olivia, very carefully, very timidly walked up to Charlotte and put her hand on her head. I think I'm not very good at this sort of thing. She put her arms around Charlotte and hugged her. Charlotte could feel her mother's arms shaking. Olivia spoke, sorry about all the mushy stuff, and kissed her daughter's forehead. An hour later, they were talking about more trivial things with the girls out in the kitchen. So let me get this straight. You're some sort of folk hero? Olivia asked. Not so much to anyone but Harriet Bowman. And she hates men and cooked up some crazy will? And you could get all her money? If I beat her granddaughters. If you beat them. At high school, right? Olivia was almost laughing. Ms. Hughes broke in. Apparently all 3 of her children were boys, but they had 3 daughters, all the same age, and all the same age as Charlie. She didn't want to leave her businesses to men, and she didn't want to divide them. So whoever gets the best grades at her old school gets the whole shebang, worth $183 million. You've got to be kidding me. Olivia responded. Hell no. Ms. Hughes mocked her coldly. And when I say her old school, I mean she owns a good percentage of it. Her estate will pay admission, room and board, the whole deal. The thing is they only take girls. So for Charlie to get in, she needs to legally be a girl. Is the will made out to Charlotte? Ms. Hughes answered. Doesn't matter. Charlotte is so close to Charles, and there's a lot of proof, the pictures from the pageant, the footage of the Apple incident, pictures of her with Harriet Bowman to legally prove they are one and the same. It doesn't matter if Charlotte is an alias or a nickname. And nowhere does Harriet mention Charlotte is a girl, or add that condition to the will. She names everyone by name, not gender. What's the school like? Asked Olivia. Ask the girls. Kate and Georgia are juniors, and Lily graduated from there in May. Lily piped up. It's called Windy Top, a girls' boarding school, a 3-year prep school, and very exclusive. Parents also send their girls there to keep them away from boys. You don't have to board there more than 1 year. That's all they require, but a lot of girls are in from out of state. It's very elite. Ms. Hughes picked up. They have some bright girls there. The Bowman girls among them. The winner is the girl who graduates with the highest GPA. It's not going to be easy. She blinked looking at Charlie and Olivia. Both were cracking smiles. What's so funny? The thing is, Charles graduated high school 2 years ago. She, sorry kiddo, was going to be a junior at MIT.